Week 13 of the college football season is upon us. We've got those top 25 games ready to break down for you. Those barking dogs to keep on cashing. The deli keeps on winning. We're going to give you that early week steam report with VR. And of course, best bets up next on Bet On It. Time flies when you're cashing tickets, and that's what we've been doing here all season long on Bet On It. I am Kelly Stewart. Gianni, the Greek, right there in the middle. Marco D'Angelo in the third seat, the king of the deli. I know, because I read his standalone deli video comments, and you guys are absolutely loving Marco for a change. It's about damn time you guys showed Marco some of the respect he deserves. VR getting all the respect he deserves coming up here shortly. But first, I got to break down this, former Big 12 game, now SEC matchup, 12 p.m. Eastern, ABC. Number 23, Missouri takes on number 11, Oklahoma, who is a 7.5-point favorite. We've seen some early Missouri money coming in, total 42.5. And that's probably because there's an anticipation that I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it. Bo Prabula may be back. That being said, Coach Drinkowitz said yesterday in his presser, he expects the lovely third stringer Zollers to start the game. Now, all intents and purposes, Mizzou beat Mississippi State last week, and that was a big win because they snapped a 2-game losing streak. Oklahoma, though, boy, did that defense show up big time at Alabama. They have now defeated 4 of 5 ranked opponents this year, and that's where I'm going in this one. Defense. The Sooners' defense ranks 8th in the nation, allowing just 16.1 yards per game. And like I said, not only limiting top offenses like Alabama last week, but also Tennessee. I like the under 42.5 here. I've not been impressed with this Mizzou offense, basically since getting past Auburn there in overtime, losing at Vanderbilt. This is only their third road game of the season. Give me that under 42.5. Marco, you're up next, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, CBS. Number 17, USC. At number 8, Oregon. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite. This total seems a little low to me, 59.5. I expected to see them march this one out in the 60s.
Yeah, Kelly, and when you look at this one, the knee-jerk reaction, you've got 2 top 25 teams going at it, and you've got a point spread of 9.5. That seems a tad high with the first glance. But if you dig a little bit deeper, I'm going to look at this one and see that USC, when they've been on the road, they've struggled. 3 of their 4 road games this year were not good for them. I don't trust the USC defense, as they have given up 31 to Michigan State, 34 to Illinois, and 34 to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's the only real legitimate team with an offense of those 3 that they gave up 30+. And to be honest, in that Notre Dame game, that was one of the more misleading finals. They should have won by more in that game. Notre Dame ended up winning by 10. A lot of missed opportunities for Notre Dame. Oregon, on the flip side, they've hit 30 points or more in 7 of their 10 games. In USC, what is it? It's, Lincoln Riley. We know what it is. It's the same thing we saw all those years in Oklahoma in the Big 12. They're a finesse team. They're all offense, no defense. And when you look at this one, they're going to get the football pounded down their throat. And that's one of the reasons, Kelly, that you're probably seeing the 59.5, because Oregon can play physical football. They like to run the football 35+ times. I know when you think of Oregon, you think of that high-flying offense, but they run the football first, and it sets up the passing game. Oregon is also, you hear me refer to them all the time, they're a 200 club member. I love teams like this. They rush for 234. They throw for 242. You can't get any more balanced than that, and it makes it tough for defenses. And speaking of defenses, take a look at the Oregon defense. They're allowing just 14 points per game. I think USC, they look attractive as an underdog, but I'm not buying it. I'm going with Oregon here, 34-20. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 9.5.
Now, before you guys complain about this game, saying it's not a primetime game, Marco did the schedule this week. So if you don't like that we're talking about this game, this is your fault. Marco. 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, number 22 Pitt at number 16 Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a 2.5-point favorite. Total 62 here and a half. VR, you nailed it last week. You said Pitt is just not a top 25 team yet. They're still in the top 25, and this is a really short number here.
Yeah, and here's the beauty. Georgia Tech's phonier. That's the greatness of this game. This is so easy. Listen, I'm just going to keep it simple. I don't want to waste the viewers' time. Right now, coming into this week on Bet On It, I'm 28-8 on the show in college football. That's 78%. We're almost 80%. So obviously using my power ratings with my market read has produced profit. More importantly, I was up about 80 units the 1st of October, up over 100 units now in November, 130 units, forgive me, in college football now in November. So the power ratings get stronger and stronger as the year progresses. That's been proven. And the same thing is going to be in college basketball. But getting back to this game real quickly, it gets right back to my power ratings. It's a mistake. Pittsburgh's the higher power rated team. That's the bottom line. The better team is Pittsburgh. I have them in my top 40. Georgia Tech just cracked my top 50 in power rating right now, believe it or not. They've had the 70th toughest strength of schedule compared to Pittsburgh's 58th toughest strength of schedule. So Pittsburgh had the tougher strength of schedule. And with the tougher strength of schedule, they've had the 24th most efficient offense compared to the 30th most efficient offense for Georgia Tech with the easier schedule. So offensively, my numbers tell me that power rating wise, overall, Pittsburgh's the better team. Offensively, Pittsburgh's the better team. Now let's look at the defense. Again, Georgia Tech had the weaker strength of schedule. They have the 60th most efficient defense. Pittsburgh, tougher strength of schedule, had the 55th most efficient defense. 2 weak defenses, and yet Pittsburgh's still better. So offense, defense, overall, Pittsburgh's the better team. So what does Georgia Tech have? They have home field advantage. What's Georgia Tech's home field advantage? Well, over the last 3 to 5 years, it's worth 2.1 points exactly. So I have Pittsburgh the better team, wipe out the home field advantage, and this game should be a pick 'em at worst. You're giving me plus money on the money line. It's an obvious bet you got to take. The only reason I gave this out to subscribers at +3 was because we were able to get it at a discount earlier in the week. Otherwise, this would be a money line play. Points not needed. Points are for pussies in this game because we got the better team. Again, the only advantage Georgia Tech has is that they're playing at home, and that's worth about 2.1 points. That's it. Everywhere else, Pittsburgh's the better team. And they're coming off playing Notre Dame, which it was probably like now it's slow motion. Going up against Georgia Tech compared to playing Notre Dame, now you're playing a team in slow motion. It'll be a lot easier week for Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh plus the points. You won't need it. Money line all day.
I just audibly laughed out loud. Good thing I was muted. Comment section. We appreciate you guys every single week here on Bet On It. You always keep me laughing as well. So if you guys have something to say, good, bad, indifferent, drop it below. We're going to run it right back with VR here. Kind of an early preview, if you guys are new here on Bet On It, of the Steam Room that he does on Sundays. And it kind of gives you an idea of what the wise guys are betting early, what the books may need early. And if you'd like to join that Steam Room this Sunday, if you are a WagerTalk Insider, you get to join it for free. To become a WagerTalk Insider, WT.buzz/insiders, just $2.99 a month. It's going to get you early access to things like the Steam Room. Bet On It comes out early. You get early access to Marco's Deli. Lots more perks coming down the pipeline. I just got to figure out some different structures. Listen, I've been working hard for you guys this football season. Just give me a couple days. VR, I'm going to let you do what you do best. Steam report, college football week 13.
Yeah, the Steam Room's awesome during football. We just do it on Sunday, the hour plus leading into the early kickoffs, and we go through every NFL game, at least all the early games. Side, total, player props. That's the extra stuff that being in the Steam Room gets you, because they're so time sensitive. I can't even release to subscribers those player props. We also get the plus EV teasers, those last 15 minutes. Again, a lot of time there's a handful of them. I can't narrow them down for subscribers, but for guys in the Steam Room, they're able to pick the ones that they like most, been able to make a lot of money off of those. And finally, I'm there to answer all your questions on any game, any money management topic, anything like that. Again, I work for you. And after football, it'll be on Saturdays with college basketball. That'll be a lot of fun because we'll be doing a lot of live betting as stuff comes in. Now, I narrowed down, like usual, 10 of the most legit steam moves where I'm not seeing resistance, where I'm seeing multiple groups on the same side, and where I still think there's a little bit of EV because we're not seeing that resistance come back yet, if you agree with it. Again, totals come out Thursdays. I've said that every single week. You could pick those off easily by watching your odds logic screen tomorrow. All right, start off all on Saturday. 119, Rutgers, plus 33 and 32. They're fading Ohio State, which was my best bet last week. Again, number one team in the country, did what they're supposed to do. They've outperformed the betting market, covering every single week except once. Wise guys think it'll be twice. They took Rutgers. Old Dominion, game 131, minus 10, minus 10.5, minus 11 against Georgia Southern. 143, Michigan, laying double digits there, 12, 13, 13.5 against Maryland. Toledo, 148, 26 and 27 against Ball State. Again, those numbers, if you like that side, those shouldn't scare you. Like once you get over that minus 20 range, there's a lot of variance. The difference between a minus 22 and a minus 23 is negligible. The difference between a minus 2 and a minus 3, two different completely bets. 155, Missouri, plus 9.5, plus 9, plus 8.5, and then plus 8 against Oklahoma. 173, Arkansas against Texas. They took the 10. They took the 9.5s out as well. Louisville playing SMU. Good game there. They took the 3.5. More importantly, they took the 3. Took that key number. So it wasn't just one of those games where there's 3.5s out there. Key number 3, let's pick those off. No, they hit the 3 as well. Wisconsin, Illinois, they took the 9.5, took the 8.5. We'll talk about that game later. 210, LSU, laying the points against Western Kentucky, a meaningless game, but we're at that part of the year where style points actually matter. 3 factors that you can't quantify in college football that matter right now. That's bowls and playoff implications. Senior day actually matters, and style points move up in the rankings. Those things are difficult to quantify, but they matter once you get into November, forgive me. And finally, last game, 219, New Mexico, minus 2, minus 2.5. More importantly, minus 3 as well. They laid the 3 there against Air Force. That's the Steam read for this week's bet on it. Jump in the Steam room on Sunday, and I'll be on Last Call Saturday going over college football and college basketball as well.
Yes, you guys can catch VR with me both days this weekend. I'm going to be covering for Ariel on NFL Sunday as well. All right, Marco, I'm going to let you go first here on the Barking Dog segment. You have been absolutely crushing this spot, and you took a dog this week that I had on my radar, but you're going to have to convince me to trust them. I'm not going to lie. I had them on my long list, and I thought, I can't trust Colorado, Marco.
Well, Kelly, I'll just give you a preview to the NFL show. You're going to have to trust the process several times this week, okay, with some of these games. And we're going to start with Colorado. And yes, Colorado looks ugly as hell. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games, but I'm really looking at the scheduling spot here. Arizona State is coming off a scare last week. They only won by 2 points as a 10.5-point favorite. And normally you hear me say I love taking good teams coming off a scare because you get a focused effort the next week. And that would normally be what I'm here. But is VR just said in his last segment, there's other things you got to look at when you get to the final 2 weeks of the season. Some of those things are teams out of the playoffs? Do they have something to play for? Last home game and rivalry games. And all those rivalry games come up next week. Thanksgiving weekend. Well, Arizona State has that big rivalry game. They play Arizona next week. And I think they're going to look right past this Colorado team that is ugly as can be, but this is Colorado's last home game. So I look for them, and they are not going to a bowl game. Okay. They're already have their 7 losses, so they can't go to a bowl. This is their bowl game in essence. And I will take a home team in that spot. Whether it be a rivalry game or the last home game, I will look to them. And that is the case here. And with everything that I just said and nothing to lose, what's that mean for Coach Sanders? Well, he can take all the chances he wants. Sometimes you take chances, it backfires. But if I got a dog and they're taking chances, knowing that they're going to give me everything they got, I'll go ahead and ride that dog. This is more of the spot, Kelly, than the team. But everything that I look at adds up to I've got to take Colorado with the inflated number at home. I think this goes right down to the wire, and let's call it Colorado 27-24.
All right, I'm going to make VR wait a minute because he took my barking dog for this weekend. I'm going to give you guys an even grosser barking dog. Just an absolute ugly, like, Kelly, why would you do this? And that's because I've had these double-digit dogs all season that I've left off my list. And now I got to take this one. Oklahoma State over 2 touchdowns at Central Florida. A team who has lost 6 of their last 7 games, and now you want to lay double digits with them? I don't understand it. Over the last 3 games, the Knights have been outscored by an average of 23 points per game. I get it. You guys are going to say, oh, but Oklahoma's only scoring an average of 14.4 points per game here in conference play. But that would mean that UCF would have to essentially put up 30 points here, 34-14 to cover this number with the hook, the 2 touchdowns and a hook here. I get it. Oklahoma State is not a fun team. They fired their coach early, but they've showed some fight, and this team has not quit. They wanted to beat up on Kansas. They didn't get the win, but they tried. And against last week versus my Kansas State Wildcats, I think UCF is reeling. I think the Cowboys smell some blood in the water. And as Marco said, this is an opportunity to get that kind of monkey off your back and beat a conference opponent. Zane Flores, 46 of 64 in the last 2 weeks. 71.9%. I think that the Cowboys are live here. I would not be shocked in the slightest to see Oklahoma State knocking on the door late in the 4th quarter. Give me the 2 touchdowns and the hook. And, of course, give me just a little bit on that money line. VR, go ahead and tell everybody why you like Baylor this week.
I do. And disclaimer, I haven't gotten to the window with it yet. I haven't released it to subscribers yet. But I only have 2 dogs that I was leaning this week. One I released, which I'll use as my best bet. So I was stuck with this one, and it's Baylor. And here's why I haven't gotten to the window yet. Because I'm not seeing 6.5 at my sharpest book. I have a different book that I use the shade for different markets that I believe books the sharpest stuff. And when it comes to college football, the one book that I'm looking at, they have them at 7 juiced on the Arizona side. I don't like it. I wanted to see him at 6.5. If that was 6.5, this would be a 4% play, believe me. And you're saying, wait, you're getting more points now at 7. Why wouldn't it now be a move? It's because of how I'm reading the market. Listen, the bottom line is this. Arizona, the only difference between these 2 teams, the big difference is the record, the result. But when you look at them on paper, the predictable data, they're not all that far apart. In fact, power rating wise, I only have them 6-7 slots different. I have Arizona as the 40th power rated team, and I have Baylor as the 46th and about 47th, tied right around there, 46, 47. So they're very comparable in power rating. And the difference in records comes down to the schedule. Arizona's had a very easy strength of schedule. In fact, it's the 50th toughest in college football compared to Baylor, which has a top 25 strength of schedule. That's the difference in the records. But when you look offensively, way superior offense on the Baylor side. 15th, they're a top 15 offense with that strength of schedule compared to a barely top 40. They're 39th Arizona offensively. Defense, that's where Baylor has the problems. They're barely in the top 80. But still, Arizona is only in the top 40. So again, they may be 2x better defensively, but they've had a lot easier strength of schedule as well. So Arizona is now going to go, Baylor's going up against a much easier offense. Their weakness has been defense, and they're going up against a very weak offense. So that's credit to Baylor, strength of schedule to Baylor, offensive side of the ball advantage to Baylor, and they're catching all these points. And when you look at Arizona, even home field advantage, nothing. It's worth what? Not less than 2.1. So they have less of a home field advantage than Georgia Tech had over the last couple seasons. So yeah, I like Baylor plus the 7 points, and it comes down to strength of schedule. That's the difference in the record. And I'm going to share something real quickly. college basketball, a perfect example, because we saw this. This reminds me of the Arkansas bet that Marco had last week, where against LSU, where it was just the record. But when you looked on paper and that the actual stats that matter, they were a lot closer than the records indicate. And something that stuck out to me today when I was looking at college basketball, and I'm sorry, I know it's a college football show, but they have Alabama not even in it ranked, I don't think. And I can tell you guys right now, my power ratings in college basketball: number 1, Duke. Auburn is about what do I have? Auburn 1 point worse than Duke, 1.5 point worse than Duke. Behind Auburn is Houston, who's a half point worse. Behind Houston is Alabama and Gonzaga. So Alabama's a top 5 power rated team, but because they've lost the game already, you don't even see them in the rankings, I don't think. Same thing happens in college football. So this Baylor team's a lot better than their 5-5 record. And let's not forget, they want to be bowl eligible. Big game. Take the points +7. Hopefully I see some 6.5s with the sharper books, and it gives me more confidence and we could get to the window. But Baylor, sprinkle money line, my dog of the week.
Yeah, that's really close to probably making my 3-team money line parlay. I like a lot of double-digit dogs this week. And Marco, some of them match up with your sandwich spots, or at least we'll call them partial sandwich spots, maybe some look-ahead spots. And that's what you do on the delis. You show everybody where these different situational spots come into play, whether it's a sandwich spot, whether it's a trap game, whether it's a look-ahead. 8 winning weeks. That is pretty impressive this season. Last week, 3-2, now 35-18 on the season. Tell me who you like this week in that good old deli spot.
Yum.
Well, Kelly, I'm going to be involved in a game against a team that you've made some money with this year, but they're not in their money-making role. And we're taking a look at Minnesota and Northwestern. And the team I'm talking about that Kelly has made money with is that Northwestern team. But they're not good as a favorite. And this is an absolute love this situation in this one. Northwestern is coming off a gut-wrenching loss to Michigan last week. And ironically, they're playing at the same field. Remember, they played at Soldier Field last week. They're playing there again this week. And you lose to Michigan when you've got the lead late, and Michigan ends up hitting a game-winning field goal with 2 seconds. You know what I'm going to say next. This is the poster child for lose the same game twice. Now, you look at what's going on. Because they played so well last week against Michigan, you're getting an inflated line with Northwestern. And although Northwestern looked good, Minnesota was getting their doors blown off by Oregon. So now you got recency bias lining up here with the public. And then you also have Northwestern sitting at that magical 5 wins. What's that mean? They need another win desperately. The public knows that. The bookmakers know that the public knows that, and they're going to make you pay a price for taking that team that needs that 5th win. We're not doing it. I am not buying it. Minnesota can play loose in this game. Why? They're already bowl eligible, and they get to play here in Soldier Field. And then the final thing that puts the cherry on the top of the sundae here, it's a sandwich game. They played Michigan last week, Northwestern. They play Illinois next week, their in-state rival. I'm taking Minnesota. Play them plus the points. I don't think you're going to need them. I have Minnesota winning this one outright 24-20. So let's go to the deli and let's eat good this week, Kelly.
All right, guys, you'll be able to see Marco's extended version of the deli here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. For those insiders, you guys are going to get it early. For the rest of you guys are going to get it on Friday. Let's get right into these best bets. I'm going to let VR go first, as he alluded to earlier. He likes a dog that is possibly barking here.
Indeed. And going to take Wisconsin. I talked about them on my Steam report. I sent them out to subscribers at +8.5 as a 4% play. And I would not be surprised if this gets down to a touchdown before kickoff, because multiple groups like Wisconsin, and it makes sense. First, the splits. Let's talk about the splits for both these teams. You have Illinois, who's 5-1 at home, and they're barely 500, 2-2 on the road. Flip side of that, Wisconsin haven't won a single road game, but they're 3-3 at home. So all their wins have come at home. That's a strong home field advantage when you haven't won a single game on the road. So we like that for Wisconsin. Then I look at the power ratings. Believe it or not, Wisconsin at 3-7 is a top 50 team power rating wise. They're still a top 50 team. Illinois just cracked my top 30. All right. Illinois with that win over Maryland. They're now have back-to-back wins. They were big favorites to get it done, obviously 13 and 16 points. But they got the W's, outperformed the betting market. I moved them up a little bit, but they just cracked my top 30. And here's why. Strength of schedule, it's not even close. Wisconsin's had the toughest strength of schedule this entire season. And yet they have the 15th most efficient defense in all of college football. And they're catching points at home. I like that against an Illinois team where that's been their strength, offense, because defensively, they're not all that good. Barely top 40. And Wisconsin's weakness is their offense. So now you have a Wisconsin offense who's had problems going up against a weaker defense than they faced. Remember, number one strength of schedule. Now it's going to get a little easier for that offense. Defensive side of the ball, where they've been top 15 all season, they're playing an easier offense they have to deal with than they've had lately. So all of this points to we should see Wisconsin play a lot better than their record indicates. And let's not forget, they come in having covered 3 straight. So they've outperformed the betting market of late. I don't think they're a team that we expect to regress ATS-wise, because they have already regressed. They're 2-7-1. They're 5-5 over the last 10 games ATS. So what's there to do? I like Wisconsin here. Take the points already released. I don't think you're going to get a better number, so I wouldn't wait on it too long.
All right, Marco, your best bet kept me off of a game that I was looking at. You know, we have this handy dandy little sheet that I put together every single week, and I had this team on my long list, and I said, oh boy, I'm not going head to head with Marco. Can't do it. It has been bad for me all season long. Marco, you like the Penn State Nittany Lions over Nebraska this week. Tell me why.
Yeah, before I tell you, well, Kelly, I got to tell you what's happening at WagerTalk this week. We've got a special site-wide at WagerTalk, rest of the football season. This is available to any of our cappers. You can get all college, all pro football through the Super Bowl, just $379. And that includes all the 5% plays. You know, those 5% plays sell for $35 each. Guys, my 5% plays, we hit it again last week. We had to sweat a little bit, but Sam Darnold made us sweat with those 4 interceptions, but they still got the money. That's all that counts with the Seattle Seahawks, and that brings the record to 37-16 on those 5% plays. And all of our plays have been on a roll, guys. Last 20 days, we have gone 32-14. That's 69.6% for basically a 3-week stretch, and a profit of $4,668. Grab that rest of season special. And for this game, Kelly, Penn State and Nebraska, these are 2 teams I know pretty well. Obviously, Penn State being one of those Pennsylvania teams. You know, I follow all of those. But I also follow Nebraska a lot, Kelly. And the reason for that is I do a Nebraska radio show every week. So I've got to break them down for them each week. And I've been very good going with it against Nebraska. And this is a bad spot for them. Let's start with Penn State, first of all. This is a team that showed a lot of character last week. With the season they had, and after having Indiana on the ropes to win that game, and they came back and played well last week. You talk about lose the same game twice, the season they had. It would have been easy for Penn State to mail it in, and they didn't. And why? The team absolutely loves the interim coach. They're playing hard for him. He's a guy that's he wears his emotions on his sleeves. He actually did a press conference yesterday where he actually broke down and started crying in the press conference. I don't know if that's something you like or don't like with a coach, but it shows what this school and team means to him, and they're playing hard for him. And this is the last home game. We talked about that. Senior day for a lot of kids, and the pride. They want to give everybody at Penn State a home win, finish the home season on a good note. And then let's look at Nebraska. They are in a horrible spot. They had last week off. They had a bye week, and that was good for them because they were coming off such a high. Prior to the bye week, they went to UCLA. Remember, they lost their quarterback, Dylan Raiola, before that game. They had to go with first-time starter freshman, and he had the game of his life. I think he hit his first 16 passes in that game. He was a dual-threat quarterback. And if you saw the Rose Bowl that Saturday night, and Nebraska was our 5% in that game, and they beat UCLA, the crowd was probably 70% Nebraska. The fan base traveled to California. It was a big game for TJ Lateef, the quarterback, because he was from there. Now they've got to sit around, read their press clippings for 2 weeks, go to Penn State. Remember, UCLA didn't know what to expect with the game plan because they didn't have any real game film on him. He got in some mop-up roles, but that was the first start. Now Penn State's had the luxury of seeing what they did and what was successful. And the other big difference is TJ Lateef's not facing the UCLA defense this week. He's facing a very good Penn State defense, and he's going to have trouble. I like Penn State in this one. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 9.5. I know people looked at this and saw Nebraska getting 9.5, and they want to run to the window. I'm not doing it. Just like we talked about that Oregon game, there's a reason this line is this high. I'm taking Penn State. I'm laying the points. I expect Penn State to roll big, 30-13.
And I just figured out the reason why this game was so high, and that's because VR said in his Steam segment that the sharp guys bet it. But I think that they're really overlooking a couple of things here. Sure, Michigan has won 4 straight games, but they failed to cover their last 3 as a favorite, just 1-6, and their last 7 as a favorite against the spread. As Marco mentioned, Michigan needed a walk-off field goal not only to beat us, but also Northwestern last week at Wrigley Field. That was a gross one. But I do think after a scare, plus, who do they play next week? All right, they're going to go home and play Ohio State. I think it's going to be tough for them to get excited to play Maryland. This is a Terps team that we're on early. If you guys remember, we had them versus Wisconsin and Washington. And I still cannot believe they lost that Washington game. And they had a 6-game losing streak subsequently after that. But now they have a chance to play spoiler, keep Michigan out of the college football playoff. I like Maryland on the money line because I need this team to break my heart just one more time this year. That has been the college edition of Bet On It. Let's bring back in the guys. If you guys have a comment, question, or concern, please drop it in the chat. We'll get that recap graphic up right now. And of course, if you are looking for that NFL show, you guys can find it right here. The mega show right here. And also check out our specialty segments right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel.